Good morning. Today is Sunday, January 24th, 2021, and I'm Margaret Drugovich, the president of Hartwood College. It's been a very cold and, as you can see, very sunny weekend here in Oneonta. Just perfect for a weekend in January. This past week, I was interviewed by two members of our Oneonta community. They've been interviewing leaders in Oneonta about the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. These interviews will be archived at the Greater Oneonta Historical Society. I'm glad that they're doing this project. It's important, I think, to capture this moment in our shared experience. There's so much to be learned, both now and in the future, from how we have responded to the existential threat of COVID-19. These interviews will help to assure that none of the learning is lost when we reframe and re-examine this moment long time into the future. Thinking about the interview, it struck me how personal this pandemic is. Our response is so personal. It seems to me that COVID has caused each of us to reconsider our place in the world, our role in American society, and at a very local level, our relationship to one another. You know, many of us had never really been challenged to answer this question. How far are you willing to go to put the welfare of others ahead of your own needs and wishes? Are we willing to defer gratification by avoiding activities that we enjoy in order to possibly protect someone else from COVID? How do we make the choice between a personal good, for example, the joy and comfort we find in being with others, and on the other hand, the community good of refraining from unsafe group gatherings? Two goods and one very important choice. Another example of two goods, I've heard of Hartwick students who are afraid to indicate that they have symptoms because they're afraid that they'll be put into quarantine and possibly fall behind by missing labs and other special instruction. Again, this is a choice between two goods: continuing studies without interruption, a very personal good, and protecting others in the event that we might infect someone, a community good. As I was thinking this morning, one final example struck me of how COVID can force us to choose between two goods, and that is the cue for vaccination. I've been asked several times by younger members of our community if it's okay to register for the vaccine if, by bending the state-provided definition just a little, one might be able to qualify. After all, who's to say that the rules regarding vaccine priority populations that the state has put into place are the best rules? The personal choice, the personal good in this case, of course, is being able to get the vaccine. The community good is to wait our turn and let those who are the most vulnerable or the most essential get the vaccine. Choosing between two good things can be difficult. Having to make such consequential choices on a daily basis is unprecedented for most of us. If you have faced these choices, and I know you have, and you've made the choice to protect others from possible infection by deferring an activity that you'd like to do, but that puts you and maybe others at risk, thank you for making the best choice. If you are concerned that making the right choice might put you at personal disadvantage, please reach out to me or someone else you trust on campus. Let's talk it through. We will help to make sure that you do not fall behind. I'm optimistic that our society will be stronger for having practiced the discipline of putting others first. It's not a practice that we wanted, but I think it will be a practice that will shape the way we are together for the better for a long time to come. I see evidence each day that members of the Hartwick community are choosing to put others first. I see how happy our students are to be back on campus. Even though they are testing, they are wearing their masks, and they are enjoying activities both in and out of the classroom, all carefully thought through to assure their personal safety. I also see how hard it is for some to make the best choice. A few students have chosen a personal good, being together in ways that are not permitted, over the option to refrain in order to protect others. Because of this, less than a week after J-term began, 8 students have been sent home to study remotely for 2 weeks because they broke our COVID safety rules. The safety rules are just reminders. They're designed to help make it a little easier to remember to make the best choice between what can be 2 good choices. I'm optimistic that we'll settle into regular routine now that we have a week behind us, and I hope that we will not need to send even one more student home. I'm also optimistic that we can make it through to May 29th because despite a lack of vaccines, some of our members of our community have been able to access the vaccine. I'm also optimistic because Hartwick employees and students are fully participating in our regular COVID testing program. This testing continues to be important. Over this past week, we have identified 10 cases among our students who had COVID but had no symptoms. We found these cases with tests that were administered as part of our campus-based surveillance testing program. So, please keep testing. As I mentioned last week, we restarted the COVID case counter on January 4th, and we now have 12 active cases, all students, 7 of whom are isolating on campus. 12 cases is 12 cases too many. But given the number of students and employees who are working, learning, living, and testing on campus, this rate of infection is well below what we continue to see throughout the state. I remain optimistic that if we each make the right choice every day, we'll be able to maintain our in-person instruction and activity schedule. We'll make adjustments along the way as new information becomes available. I wanted to remind you, you can find all of our updates at hartwick.edu/COVID updates. There's good news all around us. There was a nice article in this week's hometown Oneonta newspaper about Hartwick's journey to success with the Flight Path program. Thanks, Jim Kevlin, for your interest in the good things that happen in our community, including our progress at Hartwick. I had a request last week for a playlist of all of the songs that I've shared with you through these videos. You'll find a link to that collection attached to today's video. And today's song is Cockeyed Optimist, as sung by Mary Martin in 1949. Be safe. Please wear your mask. Have a great Sunday.